Yeah. Okie doke. Let's cook. It'll be a relatively short. I mean, again, similar things going on. I know there's some, incremental updates on the stuff, for instance, that the Code Sage team is working on. Do you want to just kind of briefly talk through some of the incremental updates from the
Yeah.
open source developments?
So I don't want to get people too excited, but the NFT collection creation platform is pretty close. Like I've already seen the interface. It's like beyond Figma. It's actually exists already. I talked to them like a week or two ago. I was on a Zoom with them and Adrian, and we were working on implementing all of the blockchain commands to actually like set up the collections and add the collections or add the NFTs to the collection. So like it's very close. At the same time,
Sure.
they're also working on the NFT staking platform. I know that they have a Figma all set up for that, and I'm not sure what stage they're at on uh, the building out the actual interface. But I know, like I've told them that it's high priority, like higher priority than the um, collection creation platform. So
Right,
they should
right.
be cranking away on that and hopefully done soon. So, like I said, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. So I'm not going to set any dates, but I know that they're not that far away. Everything's very far down the line.
Sweet. That's awesome. Um, yeah, we're really close on those two components. And the thing that makes those two components important are specifically the reason that the NFT staking is important is for the community events that we have coming up, specifically for Strange Clan. Obviously, this enables functionality across all passage collections, right? So it'll be tools for new communities, existing communities, um, but specifically the egg staking event for Strange Clan. So that will allow us to do um, some more stuff with that if we have all those pieces connected. Um, yeah, and then for the NFT creation portal, again, that will just make creating collections and bringing in new creators a whole lot easier. So both of those are going to be really useful pieces for new communities in the community. Well, new people coming into the Passage community.
Yeah. Um, so we also are obviously launched the new collection, and we have a world ready to go for an adventure. So that's development that's been worked on. I don't have the list ready for like what other stuff being worked on, but
Sweet. Yeah. No, I mean that's the heart of it right now. Um, apart from that, there's not a whole lot going on the open source development side. The other big developments are all platform side right now. So this week we just began. Officially kicked off. We'd already done some preliminary stuff for the big Passage server upgrades that we're working on. And there's a couple really cool components going into this. The biggest is just um, there's going to be kind of two stages to this. And one stage is basically new features for our server architecture. And the new features we're working on are basically being able to run events 24/7 and dynamically scale them. And those go together. The reason you could run an event 24/7 right now. You just have to set it to start right now and set it for 500 hours. I don't know, whatever. Like you just got to set a really long time frame, and yeah, it'll run 24/7 for that duration. But it's not efficient right now because you're paying for all the spots that you open up for every minute that they're open. What we're creating is an elastic system where you can set a minimum and maximum number of users. The minimum just being how many spots are always open, right? And then as people come in, it'll dynamically add more spots. It'll boot up GPUs to accommodate new people. So what that means is basically it's going to be more cost effective to do larger, more open-ended events, right? You don't have to know how many people you want spots for. You can just basically create a range, and it will make your spend a lot more efficient, which is cool. So then there's a couple other components that go into that, but that's the gist of it. It's just like that will allow us to run more open-ended community-style events on Passage. So this will go into experiences like the egg staking experience, because we want that to be a open-ended event that people can jump into, go into the Strange Clan world, stake their eggs, and interact in, kind of a mini game style experience. Same thing with the Cosmonaut collection. You will jump into that world whenever you want to. It'll be open-ended for a certain duration. People can jump in and out freely, and you'll go in, collect prizes, and boogie whenever you want to. So this feature set is essential for both of those. It's also essential for some of our studio clients, which is cool. So we're working on some really cool projects on the studio side as well. So this is going to be a huge upgrade all around. Stage 2, once we have that up and running, so that's really timely. We have to get that knocked out pretty quickly for both, and Rue's back on the piano. We have to get that knocked out pretty quickly for both our clients as well as the community events. So that's priority numero uno. Priority numero dos is making Akash integration kind of production ready, right? We've been talking through some details with the Akash team, and basically just trying to figure out what's going to be the best way to build this out. The whole team's been super supportive. Zeke had previously deployed a an upgrade, or I don't know what to call it, but he deployed some type of fix that was going to help us get access to the encoding hardware on the GPUs. Whatever. There's a thing we were facing before. And we just had not iterated on the testing because we knew there's going to be a number of steps to get kind of our Akash implementation to parity with what we had on AWS. But the more people we have deploying events, just the more beneficial the whole that's fine, buddy. The more beneficial the whole Akash implementation is going to be. We'll be able to have more cost savings. While we're still in closed beta, it is a big priority. There would be cost savings, but there's just other things that are, frankly, people will spend more money to get the right features than they will on saving money, So there's just other things we've had to prioritize, but we're getting to a point now where we're going to be ready to kind of strategize around getting the Akash deployment rolled out, which I'm really excited about, because I'm excited for Cheng was telling me about some of the hardware that they have available for us, and I was geeking out with Mike because it'd be huge. The GPUs we're using right now, for example, are A10s on AWS, which are great. We can get 2 people on 1 GPU, and it's a pretty good balance of performance and cost effectiveness. The GPUs that Cheng was telling me about can fit. They're still very economical. They're actually a similar price to the A10s, a little bit more expensive, but we can fit 6 to 8 people per GPU. So we're getting something like a 75% price decrease. Now, again, the hoop we have to jump through is we have to deploy some more, architecture, because with AWS, part of how we're building this whole, and this has been a very technical steering committee meeting, but you'll have to lock in for it. Part of how we're deploying the whole Elastic server system is that we can take advantage of AWS's, kind of managed architecture, which is that we can pay less for GPUs that are idling, right? And again, there's similar things that we can do on Akash, but we have to kind of set some of that stuff up ourselves to kind of boot GPUs up and boot them down. And Mike was saying, again, there's different benefits, right? Like there's ways that we can take advantage of Akash's structure to create a bunch of similar cost savings. It's just a slightly different setup, right? So there's a little bit different architecture we'd build out to do the same thing on Akash. So that's why that's kind of stage two. There's just a kind of an immediacy to locking down the Elastic server setup that we're building out for these upcoming events, including our event with MIT. So that's also in January. We've got a bunch of things that are coming up fast here. And then following that, probably we'll have the core architecture done by next month. We'll have tested and iterated by the beginning of the year, and then we'll start transitioning to transition that architecture over to Akash, so we can deploy the same setup across Akash GPUs. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
It'd be nice to not be affected by the AWS outages.
It is crazy, right? Yeah. There's a lot of things where, shoot, Cloudflare, right? Like there's huge, like a bunch of, unless you are managing your own hardware, right? I mean, there's just no guarantees. It seems like, 99.9% uptime sounds great until you're living in that 0.1%. And then, again, stuff happens, right? So, you do just have to be prepared for that. But also, having decentralized infrastructure means that you have more options, right? You've diversified the circumstances that you're dealing with. The problem with these monolithic infrastructures is that when they do go down, because so many people are relying on them, it's much more severe. The impact is much greater. So, all that to say, yeah, 100%. Also, just I believe the economic model of Akash is way better. I think the pricing is going to be better. There's so many things we're going to be able to improve, but it's just going to take a little bit more planning and setup to do so. All that to say, the work we're doing now will duplicate, right? Like all the there's we're building out different boot scripts and things like that aren't going to, the hardware doesn't make a difference, right? So there's some differences because right now we're deploying on Windows primarily, and we'll be deploying on Linux for Akash, but developing a good Linux deployment model, there's cost savings in that regardless of whether you're using Akash or AWS. So there's a lot of like little pieces that we'll gain setting this up for Akash. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of cool features that we're just cooking on because people want it, right? That is the beauty of building based off of demands and not based off of market cycles, is that we're cooking. The market is cooked and we're cooking. So Beans,
Nice.
anything else we got? I said this would be a short one and then proceeded to monologue.
I mean, there was a lot to say. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's been good. Like I said, we got a number of big events coming up. We'll be sharing some more stuff about the MIT event in January over the course of the next 30 days. And yeah, hopefully, I mean, in January, we'll be able to announce some of these other ones. We won't be able to talk about some of these until they're actually public.
Do you have any idea on when open beta is going to happen, or are we still taking on more people for closed beta?
Yeah, we're still taking on more people for closed beta. So, feel free to reach out if you've got an application. I've seen people talking in the chat about things that they want to build. But if for open beta, we will probably transition after some of these big server upgrades because there's just going to be some performance improvements that come with this as well. And that's the biggest thing for me, is making sure that before we go to open beta, we feel really good about reliability of the server structure. I know that chihuahuas, or like there've been just bugs that people have experienced booting up events, and we can be really proactive with the closed beta community, when we open up for open beta, people are going to get the support that they pay for, right? So I don't want people trying out their first experience and running into problems, before they've committed to like a support package, right? Like, yeah, we can offer like premium support for people who grab a subscription, but we also just want people to be able to jump in and have a free trial, or jump in at any level and have a great experience. So we'll improve performance on some of those pieces with this big upgrade, and that's probably when we would move towards open beta. In terms of actually like the technical demands of transitioning to open beta, it's pretty trivial. We have all the pieces ready for people to manage signups and things like that. We just need to drop it on the front end.
Nice.
Yeah. Yee. Plus, it helps to just like it's really helped to work through this with different client collaborators, because we get to see how people actually want to use passage events. That's kind of helped us define what this feature set should look like for the server upgrades. So it's been a good process. We'll bring that learning to the masses.
Nice. I'd like to mention if there's anybody on here or you know of anybody that's aware of any bugs in a passage world or just in passage altogether that you might have encountered, make sure you bring them up. Uh, we're constantly attacking things that people are reporting, but if there's something that hasn't been reported, it's important that we know about it. So shout it out
Yes.
in the chat or open a ticket or however you want. Communicate with the team and let us know what's going on.
Yep. All the more reason to jump into GM Tidings. You could be our bug sniffers.
Yep.
Sick. Sweet. That's all I got. Until next time. Again, huge shout out to the folks who have been contributing in the open source community: CodeSage, NodeFleet, Adrian. Everyone's been huge. The people who have contributed on the infrastructure side, it's been awesome. So like, really appreciate everybody who's operating validators, people who are standing up services, relayers. Yeah, we want to constantly improve how we're able to serve those people. I know we're in a really scrappy. I was gonna say crappy, a scrappy stage right now. So all the support is hugely appreciated, and let us know how we can support you guys as well. If there's ways we can help you create community events inside Passage to help support what you're doing, or we can just shout you out, bring people into a conversation in GM Tidings, let us know. We've got hundreds of people who tune into GM Tidings every week, so it's a good place to just talk with the people who are building.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Go team, go. Peace.